August of 2016, I got the seed planted in my heart to go to Australia. And within like 6 months or so, I was in the airport with my backpack and had a one-way ticket to Melbourne, Australia. So I was like, stuff can change like so quickly in your life, right? Welcome to the Dream Big, Have Adventures podcast, where your big entrepreneurial dreams and your dreams of travel and adventure collide. Hi, I'm your host, Tess. I'm a published author and founder of HerHouse, an app community of solo women travelers who host each other for free, giving us safe, affordable accommodation and a supportive network of women all around the world. Here, we mesh big dreams of building business with your thirst for adventure. Because I'm going to give you a hint. They're actually way more connected than you realize. On here, I dive into building a tech startup as a solo founder and bring women from the HerHouse community onto the show to share what they're building and how we're bringing women together by hosting others in our network. So no matter where you're listening to this, doing the dishes, on the road, or in the airport, if you have big dreams and a thirst for adventure, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Why I built HerHouse. Okay, so I built HerHouse. It came out of my personal experience solo backpacking in 2017. But let me back up a little bit because it's not like I just randomly picked up a backpack and wanted to, travel the world like that. So a little bit about my backstory is I actually did not travel very much growing up. I rodeoed. Some people don't know that about me, but I actually grew up in the mountains of Colorado. I grew up on the back of a horse and I grew up rodeoing. Pretty much from when I was, 8 years old until like after college or around this time that I'm going to tell you about, all I cared about was rodeo. All I cared about was running barrels and being a professional barrel racer. And that's all I cared about. That's all I wanted to do. That's actually one of the reasons why I went to school in Texas, because, I grew up in Colorado, grew up in the mountains, snow all the time and up in the mountains. And in Texas, it doesn't snow like it does in the mountains down in Texas. So I was like, I'm going to Texas. I hate the snow and I hate being cold and I hate not being able to work my horses all year long. So I ended up going to West Texas A&M in the Texas Panhandle. And the reason I went there too is so that I could easily haul my horse back to Colorado. I could easily go home when I needed to. So that's the reason why I went to West Texas A&M. And so ended up going there and I rodeoed and I ran barrels all through college. And a couple of really important things happened to me in 2015. I hate talking about this because it's like really annoying that this is like part of my story and it's like a pivotal part of my story, but it is. So in 2015, I was working a roping in New Mexico and I got sexually assaulted by a cowboy. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that situation totally turned my world upside down. Because of that situation, I lost all of my ambition to run barrels, to be around rodeo, to be around the Western way of lifestyle. Like, I wanted nothing to do with it. And even to this day, I'm still not a big fan of like rodeos and stuff, which is horrible because like I think rodeos and Western way of lifestyle is, primarily like very wholesome lifestyle and stuff. But it was crazy. That situation happened to me and it totally turned my world upside down. And then so I was kind of healing, kind of like processing that, going through that. And then another thing happened is I went on a really long road trip with a couple of girlfriends in May of 2015. What we had done, we went from Amarillo, Texas, drove to the Grand Canyon, then drove to California, drove all the way up Highway 1 to Seattle. Then we drove through Montana, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, where they were actually ranchers. They came from like ranch families and stuff. So we went to their ranches in North Dakota. And then we drove back down through Colorado into Texas. So it was like it was like such an epic road trip I had with these two girls. It was amazing. And it really gave me the first taste of freedom, of like wildness, of adventure that I've really grown to know and love now. And then I graduated college in 15. After 2015, like through 2016, I was really, really lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I really wanted nothing to do with rodeo. And I still had like my burro horse and truck trailer because like rodeoing and having horses, it's not a hobby. It's not just like something extra that you do. It's like a lifestyle. It's like, who I was really wrapped up in like running barrels and having this type of lifestyle. And because of what happened to me, I just like didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And so I ended up selling everything that I had, and it was draining me dry. Like having horses is so expensive, and I couldn't financially keep up with it anymore. I needed to get a job, and it's so hard to like try to look at getting jobs somewhere because I had like my horse and truck and trailer, and I was like, I had all this stuff that I would have to take with me. It's like almost like a baby or something, or, So having the horse, so I ended up selling my big, beautiful bay barrel horse. He was amazing, Cuervo. I sold him. I sold my truck. I sold my trailer. I actually still have all like my saddle and my tack and stuff. Like I actually didn't sell that stuff. Everything else I sold. And so I was in this place where I was just like really letting go of everything. And I had some cash, I had like maybe like $6,000 in the bank after I sold because it was like a super old truck and, that I sold. And so I ended up coming to this place where I didn't have a whole lot of stuff, and I just got out of college and I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. So, and also at this time, I was actually associated with a network marketing company, and network marketing, wasn't my pot of gold, but it was the place where I started to get a little entrepreneurial flame kind of like lit in my heart, and this whole concept of like a digital nomad lifestyle, it was starting to become like talked about and like more, I don't know if it was like mainstream at the time, but people were talking about digital nomad lifestyle and like laptop lifestyle. We were talking a lot about that. It was really, really going on. And I was at some meeting one night and they announced that the company was about to open up in Australia. And my leader at the time, she looked at me, she's like, Tess, why don't you go to Australia? I'm like, you're out of college. Like, why don't you go to Australia? Start making some connections over there. And I looked at her and I was like, because immediately I was like, oh no, I can't go to Australia. But like in my head, like I could not bring up any reason why I couldn't go to Australia. I was like, I'm not in college. I just sold everything that I had. I don't have anything tying me down. At the time, I had a boyfriend he's now my husband. So I was dating Pace at the time, and just this thought of going to Australia like really inspired me. Like the seed was planted. And after that happened, I became like totally obsessed with this concept of like backpacking in another country. Yeah, I remember one of my favorite movies of all time is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. So I always loved watching him like walk through an airport with a backpack on. Like he's such an adventurer. Like he's so cool. And I was like, that's what I like. I want to do that. Like I want to go travel and backpack. And so I started researching like working holiday because I was able to qualify for the working holiday visa because I was 25 at the time. So I just started getting obsessed with this concept and started researching it. And I felt kind of crazy wanting to do this because like no one in my life had ever done anything like this before. I had no friends, no family who had ever done this. And so a lot of them didn't really fully understand. Like they were excited for me. They were also a little terrified. But Australia is like not quite as, I feel like, unsafe as like other places that they would perceptually think are unsafe. Like they feel like Australia is a safe country for the most part. So that was something that they were happy with the process. August of 2016, I got the seed planted in my heart to go to Australia. And within like 6 months or so, I was in the airport with my backpack, and I had a one-way ticket to Melbourne, Australia. So I was like, you know, stuff can change like so quickly in your life, right? So yeah, within 6 months, I was like on an airplane to the other side of the world. And so one of the things that made it so much easier for me, like going overseas, was that I had a host while I was there. Like, so I knew Sally. She lived in a little town right outside Melbourne. And I knew her from like previous, like we worked at a camp together, like when I was in high school. It was crazy. A Girl Scout camp in high school. And so we just kept in touch. And I was like, hey, Sally, like, I'm looking to come to Australia. Would you be open to hosting me? And she was like, yeah, I will totally host you. Having that connection before going overseas was imperative. I honestly don't know if I would have gone to Australia if it weren't for Sally and like having that safe landing place for where I was going to be landing. So yeah, I flew to Australia by myself, got there, and Sally picked me up from the airport. She and her little sister, they're amazing. And so they picked me up and they took me to like their family barbecues and they showed me around, and I ended up staying with them for, I don't know, probably like 2 weeks almost. It was like kind of a lot that they like hosted me that long. And I was like, okay, I should probably, move on. Like, thank you so much. And they were so sweet wanting to host me. I think that they probably would have let me just stay with them if I wanted to. But I was like, I probably need to go now. And from there, I started looking for where I should head next. I know I had one friend, Claire, who was going to uni in Sydney. So that was probably going to be my next like place where I was going to head. But another thing that I kind of had in my back pocket that maybe not a lot of other backpackers do is I had that network marketing company that they're starting to expand in Australia. So they started having some like trusted connections like within that company. So I started networking, just within there, and I was able to find like a few people like within that network who would be open to hosting me. Like my first one was in Geelong, which is like a little town right outside of Melbourne as well. And so she hosted me for a couple of nights and then got me on a train to get me to the airport so I could get to Sydney. And just over and over again, and I'll get to this here in a minute, but that people would just open up their homes to me as a solo woman traveler. It was absolutely an incredible experience. But one of the most outstanding things that happened to me in regards to my accommodation that was a real catalyst to helping me believe that something like HerHouse needed to exist is what happened to me in the Melbourne airport. So I was standing in line and I struck up a conversation with this woman behind me. And I tell this to all of my friends who like have a hard time, connecting with people, especially like strangers while they're out and around or abroad. I literally just give compliments to people. Like there's this woman behind me, I'm like, hey, I love your dress. And she was like, thanks, blah, blah, blah. And so then we just struck up a conversation and she's traveling with her family, with her two little kids and her husband. And I've, of course, I'm a backpacker. I have a huge backpack on that's like goes above my head. And it was just a nice conversation that I had with her. And it's very common for you to see like young backpackers through Australia. It's a very common sight to see. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go now. And I need to go to my gate, right? So I'm walking to my gate and she runs after me in the Melbourne airport. She's like, she taps me on the shoulder and she's like, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to like startle you or something, but, are you going to Queensland sometime soon? And I said, yeah, I will go to Queensland at some time. Like I'm going to Sydney right now because I have a friend in Sydney, but I will be heading up the coast at some point. And she's like, well, my parents live in Queensland and I'm sure they would love to host you. And I was like totally taken back. Like, you do not know me, like at all. I don't know you. Like, what is happening right now? And she's like, well, because you remind me of my sister who solo backpacked in Europe. And she was always so scared about her accommodation and where she was going to stay. And this is just my way of just like paying it forward. Like, you really just remind me of her. So, like, if you are in Queensland and you need somewhere to stay, here's my email. I'll get you in touch with my folks. And I was like, wow, okay. So I like took her email and I just like kept it. I think I had to like a folder that I kept all this stuff in while I was traveling. So I, kept her email and I was like, okay. So, and I went on my merry way. I ended up staying with my friend in Sydney and then I ended up going to Brisbane. That's a whole other story. Like I ended up taking an overnight train to Brisbane. Brutal because I knew no one in Brisbane. I got dropped off downtown Brisbane, 4 a.m. I was so exhausted. I got no sleep and I had to try to walk and navigate to my hostel. And I was so scared. And I just wished that I would have known somebody in Brisbane, that I would have had some connections in Brisbane. Um, that's another reason why HerHouse needed to exist because like I needed good, safe connections in Brisbane. So anyway, I was in the Gold Coast for a while, stayed in a couple of hostels, and which were really fun, by the way. Like if you're backpacking in your 20s, like hostels are like a really great uh, option too. Like while you're traveling too, it was really fun. But then I was trying to figure out my next step. And of course, staying in hostels is still going to eat through your budget. Like I think they were like $30 to $35 a night at hostels. And it still was like eating through my budget. And so I was like, I'm not sure where to go. And so I ended up finding her email and I was like, hey, I'm actually in Brisbane right now. Like, are your folks around? Like, I'm open to I need a host. Like, would they want to host me? And she's like, yeah. And so she got me in touch with them, Fran and Alan, and they picked me up at the bus stop in Surfer's Paradise. And they ended up hosting me for a whole week. They lived down in the Coolangatta area. Oh my gosh, gorgeous. So beautiful. It's just like a sleepy little surfing town, and I just fell in love with that area. And so when that happened, I was really astounded of like how someone who really did not know me at all would open up their home to me as a solo woman traveler. And I didn't have any connections with them. They weren't connections through my network marketing company. I didn't know them prior. So having that experience really opened my eyes that I'm like, there are good people all over the world who want to help each other. And I want to help bring them together. Fast forward, I ended up getting back to the States and I would tell people what I did. I solo backpacked and it was incredible, but what was amazing is I stayed with locals. They hosted me usually for like a week at a time. They took me around to see their favorite beach spots, their favorite cafes. I stayed with a family for about a week and I got to see like where their kids went to school, like where they went to church, and where, they're just doing life. Like you just get immersed into what life is like. You get to feel how it feels to live there. And it's a totally different way of traveling, something that you will never get if you're on a tour, something you'll never get if you're staying in hotels or even in hostels. Like you won't get that. It's a completely different vibe when you're actually staying with locals. So I was telling people what I was doing and I was like, they're like, whoa, like, how did you find these people? How did you know that they were safe? And I was just like, well, I'm just like good at networking, I guess. And I'm good at making friends. But at the end of the day, like, I really didn't know if these people were safe. Like, it was just like a gut instinct, maybe. Like, I could just, I got really lucky, got really blessed that God had his hand on me the whole time. And I was just like, man, I really wish that there was like a dedicated space for solo women travelers to connect with locals who would be open to hosting them for free. Because I know that they exist because I experienced it. Like, people opened up their homes to me like all the time as a solo woman traveler. Like, it was totally a normal thing. And I was like, there's got to be a way to connect us. And because there's a few other platforms that might do stuff similar to this, but the fact that they're co-ed, there are men on the platform, it causes a lot of anxiety for women, especially for women who've been through stuff like me. I didn't want to be around men. I'm like healing from some stuff like that's associated with men. And so I just didn't want to be around men at all. And so I'm like, we need like a female place that people are background checked, that people are that people are, safe, like being able to use a system like this. And so that's when like the idea was kind of planted in my head and my heart, was like in like late 2017 into early 2018. Yeah, it just sat in my heart for years. It just haunted me, like this idea of creating a software and of this huge community of women who hosted each other for free. Like it just sat in my heart for years and it haunted me, and I was totally overwhelmed and paralyzed with the idea. Like I never knew how to start it. I had no money, I had no money. I had no idea. I didn't come from a tech background. And so for years I was actually like asking God to like take this idea away from me, because this is haunting me. This idea is haunting me and I can't get rid of it. Just please just take it from me, give it to someone who has more resources, who knows more about technology, who has more money. I just didn't know how to make it. I'll share with you how I built HerHouse in an upcoming episode, but I had this vision in 2019. Now stay with me. So I had a vision. I was drinking a lot of cacao at the time. So I was like drinking cacao and I was like, I don't know if I was like meditating or I was just like sitting there drinking my cacao. And I had this vision of this like beam of light shooting up out of my head, like out of the top of my head. And it was like ribbons coming up out of the top of my head and landing all over the world. Like I remember it landing in like Asia and Australia and like all like in Europe, and like I had all of these ribbons coming out of my head and landing all over the world. And it was like, this is HerHouse. Like these are the hosts, these are the women, this is HerHouse, of like all of these women that are going to be part of HerHouse with me. And so I knew that I had something really, really special, like in my head and in my heart. I just really didn't know how to do it. So in an upcoming episode, I'm going to share with you how I built HerHouse. But why I built it is to give women a safe way to connect with locals so that you can find safe accommodation with each other. And while we've been, for it's starting to grow, and we're starting to see women from all over the world, like the women that I envisioned, like the ribbons coming out of my head, like they're starting to become real. They're starting to manifest in these beautiful women who you're actually going to hear from, a lot of them, as our hosts. And so I'm really excited to share those women with you too. So it's just something that I wish I would have had while I was solo backpacking. I wish I would have had a network like this. Like if I would have seen all of these connections and places I could stay and girlfriends that I could connect with to get coffee or go to the beach or just have a safe, warm bed to land, I would have jumped on it in a fucking heartbeat. Like I would have gotten that. And I just like this whole time while I've been building this, through all of the highs and lows, I just hold on to the knowing that if this existed when I was backpacking, I would have done it. I would have been a part of it and I would have loved it. So really excited about where it's headed now. And I'm really excited for how it's growing, because in my head and my heart, I know that it's going to be huge, that we are going to be, in my vision, with all the ribbons, we're going to have thousands and thousands of women in HerHouse all over the world. So that no matter where you travel, where your mom travels, your daughter, your sister, your aunt, no matter where the loved ones in your life go, they would be able to find safe girlfriends who they can connect with and they can stay with all over the world. There's actually this tree that my toddler likes to walk me to this tree during the heat of the day here in Texas. And it's a huge, huge oak tree. And I like to like sit under it while he's like throwing rocks and stuff like that. Like I sit under the tree and I look up at this huge tree and I feel like the trunk the trunk is like HerHouse. And then it's like each of these huge branches is like a country. And then each branch is like a little city. And then there's like thousands and thousands of leaves. And I'm like, these are all the members. These are all the members of HerHouse. Like these are the branches, and then like HerHouse is the host and the tree, the mother tree. And so basically, like, I think about that, every time I go to that tree, and that we're building something really, really special. And it's going to take time to grow, because we're not just offering a product in the marketplace. We're building a community of women who trust each other. And that is mega, mega valuable to the solo women travel community. So that's really why I built HerHouse. And I'm really excited to share with you how I built it in an upcoming episode. It'll be really fun for all of you, like entrepreneurs and techies who are really curious of like how someone with no technical background started a tech startup. So really excited to share that story with you next. Until then, keep dreaming big and having adventures. And we will see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Dream Big, Have Adventures podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, a review is a really helpful way to help us reach more listeners around the world. And if you're a woman keen for solo adventure but want a real community who you can connect and stay with around the world, come join us in HerHouse. You can download the app right now on Google and Apple, and you can check us out with a 7-day free trial. I can't wait to connect with you personally inside of the HerHouse network. And until next time, keep dreaming big and having adventures. We'll see you out there.